preparing a live stream. And
Yeah.
hopefully it's coming out on YouTube, the LinkedIn and Facebook.
Oh, you are impressive.
I'm not,
I've done this connect from Zoom to Facebook and it just drives me
it,
berserk.
it's hard. Anyway,
A lot of steps. Mm.
welcome everyone. I'm Elizabeth Kipp, as you know, and this is my friend Cindy Whitmer. I'm so happy to share her with you today. She's a
Oh.
dear friend who I'm so interesting. So I'm a member of the Wellness Universe, which is this global platform, and Cindy is a recent, and I've been on a member there for years. And Cindy's a fairly recent member. And one of the people in the wellness universe said, "Hey, Elizabeth, you should meet Cindy. She's from Lawrence, Kansas." And I'm like, "What?" Which
Never.
is where I live, for those of you that don't know. So we met, we live in the same town, but we met each other on that global platform. And we're in the same field. It's hilarious.
So funny. I'm so grateful that I can't believe I've lived here 8 years and never heard, never met you.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, we're so glad. I'm so glad to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Would you tell everyone what it is you do
I would glad to.
and what you'd like to bring to us today?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. It's a great honor to be here. And hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I am the midlife makeover coach. So I work with people in midlife, however they define it, but it's typically people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s tend to think of themselves as midlifers. And I give them a makeover from the inside out through coaching, teaching, writing, speaking, and so forth. A lot of makeover language in our culture, anyway, is about fixing things on the outside or changing things on the outside to feel more confident, to feel more beautiful, whatever, changing your hair, changing your wardrobe, maybe losing weight, having surgery, whatever your thing is, right? And I think a more deeply meaningful makeover is the one on the inside out. So I work with people to heal their emotional traumas and wounds, to drop their fears, overcome any obstacles in their life, and really get crystal clear about what they want this next season of their life to look like and feel like, and then take steps and incorporate habits and mindsets and things that'll help them really create their own definition of happiness and success. And as part of that, I really am striving to influence a paradigm shift about aging, because there's a lot out there that scares us about aging. There's a lot of reasons people can think they're just getting older and it's too late for them. And I'd love to change that paradigm into thinking that actually the best is yet to come, and we have so much more relevance and confidence as we move forward, and that there's great days ahead and nothing to fear. So that's what I'm out in the world doing. So thank you for
Beautiful,
having me.
beautiful. I'm thinking that the thing I feel that the years have brought me is real wisdom.
Yeah.
And I say real wisdom, not that there's like fake wisdom. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's a tempered wisdom that's has so much strength in it that it provides a beautiful tapestry in my life and in other people around me that I know that have been around for a while. Um,
Oh,
it adds stability, kind of no matter what. And believe me, like stuff happens in this world out there, and my resistance comes up. Whoa, right? And and
sure.
and at this point in my life, instead of getting swept up by what what's happening and my resistance is taking me away. I, at this point, I have the ability to say, oh, Elizabeth, look at your resistance.
Yes. Yes. What is
Happening inside of you that's causing that, So
yeah.
where's your reference point in this moment? Is it out there or is it within? Right. So that's been,
Well,
yeah. Can you speak to that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Could you speak to that a little?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. One of the great treasures and opportunities as we continue to age is to capture our deeper knowings, from our life experiences. Because by now we've had all kinds of life experiences and they're not all pretty and wrapped in a bow. You know, and so we've had time after time when life has spoken to us and said, hey, wake up and catch this, capture this. What do you need to do differently? How do you need to pivot in your life to be more on a path that feels good, that feels stable, that feels wonderful and meaningful to you? And life just continues to keep calling us forward in that way. And so, taking all of our experiences that really, on the surface level, we think, please no, please not that, anything but that, are
Mm.
actually aligned with some of the greatest gifts for us to take into this next chapter in our lives. And so the trick is to catch that. To me, that's is part of a makeover is catching, oh, where have I been and what has my own life taught me? And how can I take that and move forward so the next time hard times come or I feel a little blindsided by something or a curveball shows up, I can bring that stability, that inner knowing to it so it's not so crumbling. It isn't so disastrous. So yeah, I agree with you. One of our greatest gifts now, being a more seasoned person, is that wisdom and understanding when we take the time to get it. So, but it takes that's an intention that one needs to set to be able to do that. So,
I'd like to know, in addition to what all you just said is amazing, I'd like to know how you guide your clients into realizing the vastness of the courage that they have.
yes.
They just may not.
Oh, yes, because I find I tend to work a lot with women, and what I find is they do not recognize their own strength. They don't recognize their own power. And so, yeah, one of the things I love to do is have go through a timeline of their lives and have them point out, even from being small children, successes or things they've overcome or what they learned. What did you learn in your first 5 years? What did you learn in your next 5 years? What did you overcome in the next 5 years? What were your successes when you were a teenager? What about young adulthood? And then I put a pin on, oh, what qualities did you have to have,
Mhm.
or develop to move through that? What did you have to do to navigate this curveball in your life when someone died, when you got a divorce, when you were shamed as a kid, when you got fired from the job, when the house burned down, when whatever happened, when you were abused, what did you have to do? And then they start to go, oh yeah, like I've survived 20 things, right? Or 10 or 5 or whatever it is. And then they can start to give themselves some credit for what they're capable of. And that's empowering.
Yeah, beautiful. I love how you map that out so carefully. You're also creating the momentum for a complete 180 in their vision.
Yes.
Because I'm guessing, just because I know chronic pain, and this is
Oh, yeah.
this is your clients are in chronic pain, whether they
They're
call
in
it
chronic
no,
pain.
they're
For
suffering, right? It's an emotional kind of pain, if not physical pain.
exactly.
The orientation is negativity. It's what happens in the brain when we have
For sure.
this phenomenon of chronic pain, which is any pain that's felt 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more is chronic.
Oh, yeah.
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it's the same to the brain, and brain can't tell the difference. So if you've got the pain of a divorce, and that
Mm,
emotional pain is more than 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more, that's chronic pain.
that's chronic
This is
pain.
an example. Yeah, a grief experience is chronic pain. Uh, uh,
Sure.
so, so the problem with chronic pain is we have this negative bias. It's just part of what happens in the brain. And so healing chronic pain, you have to actually heal the changes in the brain that are causing that in order to flip the script
Mhm.
and be able to see the world with gratitude and like where's the gift kind of thing. And this is what Cindy helps people work with. She
Yes.
helps them reorient themselves, and that's a healing that's happening really at the fundamental level of the brain. So grateful you're out there doing that.
Well, and I'm so grateful for the work you're doing too. And they align so beautifully. It's just really, really important. And it's not something that's just discussed, I think, as specifically in a lot of circles, even in therapeutic circles in a lot of ways. And I love the therapy profession. I was in it for 25 years, licensed myself. But yeah, it's really, really important. And it is the best kind of makeover, and we have a lot. Imagine, midlife for a lot of people. It seems that the women I meet and hear of and talk to and have in my groups and so on are either caregiving for their parents, now, or a spouse or a sibling, somebody. They're caregiving for somebody, or they've raised children and the kids are now gone. So there's the empty nest, which is a tremendous grief and adjustment for many, many women. The marriages, the height of divorce in America happens either in the first 2 years of the marriage or at the time the empty nest happens. So often we have midlifers facing a crumbling marriage right when they're also dealing with the empty nest. And some of them are either caring for or burying their parents all at the same time. And then you have the hormonal journey thrown in there, which is challenging for many people. And I mean, many women, no matter what, whether they have one or all of these factors going on, find themselves in some kind of crossroads in midlife going, who am I now? And what am I doing here? Like, what's my purpose? Where's the meaning of my life? Is this all there is? I hear that question over and over. Is this all there is? Like, they have lived this life of service, others oriented, I call it, where they're loving and serving, caring, 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 caring. And that's beautiful to a point, as long as we can keep some balance, right? Because we don't want to stop loving people and we're not going to stop serving people. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. It's part of what makes the world go around. And we need to honor caring for ourselves, loving ourselves, and giving ourselves the kind of grace and compassion and attention and support that we have given others forever. And but I find women resistant to that.
Well,
There's
I hear you on that, and I'll just, if I can share my own experience there
please.
to just reinforce what you said, and then how I kind of made a shift and how hard it's been.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember literally as soon as I could walk, I was put into service
Oh,
in my family. It's just the way it was. You can
early.
go
Is
get
that?
this for me. Go do that. Go do this. These are
Oh,
your chores. It's time to do this. Like, so it was, and so it was always. So what was the subtext? other oriented. Everyone else comes first before me.
Yes.
So isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
There are
It's,
so many things we could say about that.
oh, we could go on all
But-
day just
right.
about
But
that.
I'm just saying, I
Mhm.
won't go into all that because we could go into 25 different directions with that and it would be powerful. But I just, for this
Fire.
particular, yeah, for this particular thing,
Mhm.
the orientation for me was others first.
Oh,
And
sure.
whatever was left over, I got that. Whatever, if there was anything left over in my energy, in what I had to give, I gave that to myself. That was my orientation for years. Even in my chronic pain experience, I
Mhm.
was pushing up against my chronic pain I was putting that in my experience with that behind, as
Yeah.
pressing as it was, behind
Yes.
service to others. I had a husband and a child. It's like to
Yep.
run a household. So,
Yep.
my orientation was other first.
Absolutely. And we could label that classic female training that many of
Yeah.
us
Oh yeah.
raised with.
This is
You
part of
know,
this is
this is
part of the way
this is what
we're
women
living.
do. We
So
walk.
went into a pain management program, and I I got into it and I was away from my family
Mm,
for like 3 weeks. I hadn't been away from my husband for more than, I don't
wow.
know, for a couple, maybe 5 days,
That's
except in
all right.
hospital a few times. But this was away
Mhm.
for, I was away for 52 days.
Oh my
And,
God.
and some things happened in the family that I wasn't there to mediate, because
Mhm.
that was, I took that on as my job, right? And I'm
Right.
going, uh-oh, and I wanted to get on the phone to because I had to get permission to get on the phone because of the rules of where I was. And the
Mhm.
counselor's like, "What's up, Elizabeth?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a thing happening."
The thing, it's not there.
And she's like, "They'll be fine." And I'm like, "No, they won't."
Right. And did you feel guilty that you
I'm like,
weren't?
"You're not hearing me, Nance." And
Right.
she said, "No, you're not hearing me." And I was like, "Okay, what?" Because clearly I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
And she said, "You're here to serve you, not them. This is your time for you." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's not my orientation. My orientation is others first." And she said, "Man, you got that backwards." And I'm like, "What?" So I had to completely change
Yes.
a lifetime of programming for others first into Elizabeth first,
Mhm.
others get the overflow. I fill my cup first and everyone gets the overflow. Man, did that require a lot of rewire. I'm still working on that, but that's been 11 years, but
Mhm.
I have that orientation now, and I feel like, Cindy, I feel like I'm much more effective at being of service because I'm serving myself first and everybody gets the overflow of that.
Yes. And this is what I work on convincing women to consider is that when you fill your cup, the overflow is a beautiful thing. You have more energy to give to the things you want to give to. You have more time, you have emotional bandwidth for the people you really love, and you're more clear about where you want to put your energy, because when we're just in I'm a woman, I have to do everything, we say yes to everything, and then we're stretched way too thin. But when we do a makeover and we get very particular about loving ourselves and clarifying what we want our lives to look like, what we want our lives to mean, and what we truly value, then we are really, precise and intentional about our authentic giving and serving. And it's much more fun. It's much more energizing than draining. And when you take care of yourself, like you did those 52 days, you know, when you truly, truly do and honor yourself, it helps everyone around you. There's a ripple effect that just flows out from you. So really you're helping people more. And that is really tough. It's an exact opposite profile of how we are raised and taught to be and show up as girls and women. It's really the opposite of what the story has been up until now. And so but I see evidence of this constantly. I mean, absolutely constantly. Because the other thing is that a lot of women get it so into the service of others and give all their time, all their money, all their effort, all their energy, all their emotional bandwidth, and then they're resentful. They're exhausted and they're resentful and can become martyrs or, whatever, and cause conflict and so forth because they're feeling so terrible. And that doesn't help anything. It doesn't
that's just
help them.
pointing to the imbalance. When we're overgiving, we're giving. It's interesting because also we're connected through unity.
Yeah.
And here in Lawrence, and very heart-centered. And what's interesting about what we're talking about is the heart chakra. That is all about giving and receiving. And so when the heart chakra is in balance, our giving and receiving is also in balance.
Yes.
When it's out of balance, we get jealousy and resentment and martyrdom and I'm not enough and all the, and you're not enough and all the things. So this balance of giving and receiving is this huge thing that women, when you grow up and in service to others, I get the dregs, I get whatever's left over. That's out of balance from the get-go.
From the get-go.
And so we're regaining when we shift this programming right into this other thing. Yes, it takes a lot of courage. Yes, it takes guidance of other women that have been through it, right? Yes, it takes grace. It takes all these things to help us, to give us the momentum to step into, oh, you mean I have to change my whole programming here, my whole orientation? It's so worth it. Yeah.
It's so worth it. And if you're all like, how do we start? How do I even start? It starts with what's for dinner tonight. Right. If you live with someone that you tend to eat your dinner with, you're probably always saying, what would you like for dinner? Or where should we go for dinner? Or what are you in the mood to eat? And tonight I want you to go, I'm hungry for pasta, so I'm going to make pasta. Or let's go out and have Italian or whatever. Just start with a meal where you don't ask everyone else and take a vote. You just state what you want and have it. Whether they join you or not, have it. It's okay. They're not going to starve. You're going to have your favorite food tonight or whatever, what sounds good today. And that is a teeny tiny way to start going, oh, I can just say yes to myself first. The earth is not going to rotate off its axis. Maybe I'll think about what I want to do this weekend and decide. And just inform those that might need to be informed of your schedule.
Beautiful. I love that. So it doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's you're changing the momentum. Right. So remember in physics, I'm a little bit of a science geek. An object in motion stays in motion until it's acted on by an equal or opposite force. And momentum has an object in motion has momentum, and it just keeps moving in the same direction. What would the equal or opposite force be? I'm not going to keep referencing out there for my choices. I'm going to start looking in here. That's that's an equal or opposite force. That's going to change the trajectory on that object in motion.
Yes, it's a disruption of the cycle, the pattern, right? And that's what I'm asking, is that if you're unhappy, that is, if you're feeling imbalanced, you're feeling unhappy and stressed, then yes, consider interrupting some of these patterns in ways that feel doable to start, as you're building that courage muscle around loving yourself more and honoring yourself more in your life in every area. Now, the big thing that women say to me all the time, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be selfish. Ugh. They already can't stand themselves for a number of ways. And now if we, put on top a whole dollop of selfishness, it's, they just think they can't do it. And it's like, I love Iyanla Van Sant's word. She says, which she's in the personal development movement, if you don't know her, famous. And she says, it's not selfish. It's being self-full and not full of self, like, oh, we're full of ourselves, but self-full, meaning, again, we're filling the cup so there is more to give. So when you realize, again, the ripple effect, we've already mentioned it, that when I love me, I take good care of me, the ripple effect, I'm self-full, and the excess, everything else rolls out to everyone's benefit. One of my mantras is what's best for me is best for all. What's best for me is best for all. And I have found it to be true in my own life and others time and time
Oh my goodness.
and time again.
I want
Truly.
everybody to stop and take in what Cindy just said. That's so powerful. And I could already hear a part of my mind going, no, it's not. It's like, what's best for me is best for all. Because
Yes.
there's, my part that hasn't quite gotten into the new program yet, is saying that's selfish.
Yeah.
Right? And that's that. So I encourage everybody to take in what Cindy just said, what's best for me is best for all. And you know what? Go out and run the experiment. Have
Yeah.
the courage to at least run the experiment and see what happens.
Yes. See what your evidence ends up being, your proof, whatever. Well, people will say something like, well, I'm in this long-term relationship. It's toxic. How could it be best for all if I leave this relationship? It'll hurt my kids. It'll hurt my partner. It'll hurt, our whole life will be disrupted. The home that we built together, all this stuff. And it's like, is it best for your partner to stay there if you don't feel love anymore? If you're in deep conflict, maybe you're in love with somebody else. If if you're not able to live in your full expression of you, how are you showing up in that relationship that's great for everybody?
And how much damage is being done that you're not aware of. That's
exactly
sitting there that
Again,
you're just kind of festering.
what's best for all.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of truth around
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's powerful, but you've got to find it for yourself. You've got to, like Elizabeth said, do it as an experiment. And what I find so interesting is when people start to do this little by little in little ways and then build up to bigger ways, and they get some energy behind it, they're like, oh my gosh, like, it's okay. I chose for me and it was okay,
That's
and
right.
and remember that the people that are used to you doing everything for them and over functioning and over giving in your relationships and always putting them first and asking them this and asking them permission for that, or asking them if it's okay if you make, salmon tonight or whatever. I don't know why I'm making all these food references. Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know. But anyway, remember that they may resist this. Like, who is this that's showing up now? Who does she think she is? They may not quite know what to do with you. And that's when it's very important for you to stand strong and go, hey, I'm just trying to love myself enough because I love you all so much that I need to step up my game. And if you have children, even if they're adults, even if they don't live with you anymore, or you're around grandchildren, I don't care who it is, you are modeling life to younger generations.
That's right. I was going to say, we teach people how to treat us.
We teach people how to treat us, and we are teaching people younger than us right now what midlife looks like, what it can look like, what the possibilities are. And I don't know about you, but I want a world where everybody's really thriving as their best selves. And one of the best ways for me to do that is for me to stay in my authentic self and show up as best I can day after day. And I can't do that if I, again, am always others focused.
Yeah, yeah,
That is
beautiful.
a huge distraction from your own authenticity.
Well, it's also yeah, it's that and as I said, it's that balance between giving and receiving. And so if the energy is going out, 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 then we're not getting the
Yeah.
receiving thing. That was another thing I noticed about myself on the journey to switch the programming
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
was I was so other focused
Mm-hmm.
that and I had other things that I was having to heal to resolve, but I realized that I was blocking my receiving from others.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Part of the imbalance from too much giving to like actually not taking in receiving from others. So it's important, you know. Yeah.
Well, yes, and that's another reason we get drained, right? And we get spent is because we also do not allow in, allow ourselves to receive. I mean, how many people have you told in your life, oh yeah, call me anytime, anything you need, anytime, anytime, anytime. And then you're sitting in your own house, at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, depressed. You could really use a good heart to heart talk with someone or just need somebody to listen, and you won't make the phone call because you feel too guilty because you think, well, it's 9 o'clock at night. Everybody's getting in their pajamas. Everybody's winding down. I don't want to bother anyone. Da 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 da. So you never make the call while you are spending your life begging people to call you because you want to be there for them at any hour of the day,
Mm.
any day of the week, for anything at any time. So it's just, and we wonder why we're tired. I mean,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Physically and emotionally.
I hear you on that.
That's a
So
big,
we're heading into the holiday season now. Do you have any words of wisdom or any things that tips or I
yes.
kind of I think what you're giving here is more than tips, so I feel like that's kind of a little tiny word compared to what you're giving us, but
Yeah.
um,
That's
some things for us to think about as we're going into the holiday season.
Yeah, several things come to mind. You know, for, First of all, there's that saying the holidays are either the best of times or the worst of times, right? And so some things to think about if you're grieving in any way from, the death of somebody you love, the loss of a long-term relationship, divorce, separation, anything like that, or if this is the first year, for example, your nest is empty and maybe the kids aren't coming home or they're not all coming home or they're not coming home as long, or, if that whole dynamic is changing, and you're experiencing any feelings of loss, first of all, please honor your feelings. It's not fun to grieve, but the path through grief is to grieve. And that may sound really goofy, but it's really true. We do not get over grief. We manage it, right? We manage our losses, whatever they might be, through the acknowledgement and expression of the grief that comes. And
Mm-hmm.
you can do that in tons of different ways that are very healthy. Some people like to talk it out with somebody. Some people like to journal. Some people like to scream in a pillow. Some people like to run 5 miles a night to kind of, release it physically in some way. Whatever, but I would like you to acknowledge your feelings of loss in some way that feels good to you and find expression for it. Then, if you're experiencing loss, that probably means the dynamics of your holiday traditions, if you have them, may be shifting. You may need to do things differently. If your family looks different in whatever way, it's okay to maintain traditions that feel good to you if you can maintain some of those that feel important. And at the same time, it's okay to create new ones. It's also okay to check out this year and not do anything if you don't want to. It's really okay as long as you're not harming yourself in the process. If it's a true retreat to breathe and reflect on your life and charge up for the next year or whatever, fine. It's okay. The rules of life have shifted if there's been a major loss or several major losses. And so those dynamics need to be addressed and changed. And so please give yourself some grace around all of that. And bringing in that idea of what if I loved myself more this holiday season? What would that look like?
Mm.
What would that really look like?
Mhm.
Now, I got divorced 12 years ago after a 22-year marriage, and our kids were teenagers at the time, and they spent Christmas Day at their father's because his side of the family had big, they were one of those families that they only could celebrate Christmas on Christmas, because there is no other day of the year that Christmas can be celebrated, which is fine, whatever. So what that meant was, and then my family lives many hours away, drive away. But the kids wanted to come home and sleep in their own beds on Christmas night. So I didn't have time to leave town, go up to my family's to celebrate and get back in time to be with the kids. And so I had to create a new kind of Christmas day for myself. And shockingly, I ended up having a really great time. Like I one Christmas, I'm a jigsaw puzzle nerd. So one Christmas, I bought myself a new puzzle that was Christmas themed, stayed in my pajamas, made potato soup, watched old Christmas movies, put my puzzle together. I mean, I had the best time. It was just a self care love fest alone at home. And some people would think that was tragic, but it was wonderful for me. Another Christmas, I took myself out on a date and I went to the two movies, not just one. I went to Kansas City to a movie, then I went to a bookstore nearby and I had a treat, and then I went back to another movie. And I just loved myself in new ways. And that's how I spent, a couple of Thanksgivings like that, a couple of Christmas days like that. Very different. I mean, I grew up with the great big family holiday meals, all the very traditional types of holidays. And so this was a whole paradigm shift for me during those first couple of years of the divorce season. And it turned out, it was okay. So I just ask you to rethink things, honor what you need to do, and let it be okay. Let it be okay, whatever it looks like, and allow it to be the best that you can make it. And um, and know that it doesn't have to look like any certain thing at all. You can
Okay.
really get
Yeah.
creative in this. When people have had somebody die, they sometimes, put an empty chair at the table in honor of their deceased loved ones. They sometimes send out cards with the obituaries in them for those people in the fringes that may not have heard the news this year. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can really acknowledge the grief, the death of someone, as part of your holiday festivities or traditions or whatever, too. So, and then with the kids, with the empty nest, the empty nest means the kids are adults, even if they're very young adults, even if you're still putting them through college or, doing whatever you might be doing financially to support them. They need to make those decisions for themselves about what they do with their holidays. And that most of them are probably going to want to, do the same thing they've always done and be with you or be with whatever you all are doing. But sometimes they have new partners in their lives too, or new ideas of how to spend their breaks. And there's a freedom in that they haven't had before. And so you may need to be flexible about the schedule. You may need to really state what you hope for as an invitation to them, not as a requirement to them. This is all part of letting them become the adults that they are, and still feeling like you have, you can talk to them about what is important to you, and then find ways to adjust to whatever their decisions are. And that can be very difficult as well. So it's all an approach of honoring yourself and being more open to things looking differently than they have in the past, and not making that bad or wrong.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, that's a great help to everybody who's
I hope so.
listening and going through things like that. Now, you're also an author, and
I am.
I would love you to tell us about the books you've written and maybe read a little bit of one of them for us.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, the latest book, I've written three, and they're each very different books. One was back 20 years ago about simplifying your life in 8 different areas, and you can find that on my website. Another one is I took a mission trip to Africa, and it's really the story of that, what that trip meant to me and how it shifted my life. Um, so it's a pretty cool story. That's called Good Night Africa. So that's also available on my website. This one you can find on Amazon or on my website, wherever, but it's called The Midlife Makeover Method: The Secret to Loving Yourself Fully and Living on Your Terms. So some of the things that we've talked about today and so forth are a part of this. The Midlife Makeover Method is really methodology I created. It's a 6-step methodology that I created after many conversations with women in midlife. I found myself kind of coaching this same pattern over and over and over. And so I call it the Midlife Makeover Method. So, and I have a course that also, teaches all of these concepts as well, and my coaching programs, private and group coaching programs, and so forth. So this book is the story of my own midlife makeover. There's a lot of personal, information in here too, because I went through a major transformation in my 40s. Now I'm 57, but I had to do a lot of work because I was spiraling down in my own midlife journey and losing sight of who I was. Just, I call it kind of disappearing in my own life, honestly. And it's because of a lot of the mistakes that I've talked about that we make, by being others focused and just all kinds of things. So I share a lot of my own path, and then clients' paths and things, as well as teach these coaching concepts. I like to say it's like $10,000 of coaching in a $20 book. So if you're a book person, it's available on Amazon. It's available in, as a digital book or a print copy. But one of the things I like to encourage women to do, because we're just so hesitant to really glorify ourselves at all, but I talk about stepping into queendom. Queendom. So get your crowns on, and I'll just read a couple paragraphs here. Stepping into queendom. Queens are regal, sophisticated leaders of their land. They sit high on their thrones, looking out over the kingdom they rule with grace and confidence. They are kind, yet assertive. They are forgiving, yet hold high standards for themselves and those around them. They keep a tight circle of close people and confidants while mixing with many for the greater good of all. Being the leader of your own life as you go forward means stepping into your role as the queen of your kingdom. You will make wise decisions that benefit you and those around you. You will be respectful to all, but close to a few. Your boundaries will be clear. You will be a class act everywhere you go and bask in the privacy and comfort of your own domain. Few will know you intimately enough to completely understand you, and you will be judged for who you are, but you will be confident enough that this will not deter you from living how you feel is best.
Beautiful, beautiful. Goodness. Yeah, few will know who you are, and it doesn't matter. You know who you are. That's what matters.
It's not a contest.
Exactly.
Contest.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that
Sure.
uh, part of your book with us. My goodness. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest thing is just go to my website, which is my name, cindydwhitmer.com.
Excellent.
And pretty much everything is there. But I really want to also encourage you. Well, one thing, sorry, I'll go back a second. If you go to cindydwhitmer.com, a pop-up's going to occur. You know, one of those annoying pop-ups when you go to a website and you're ready to read the main page and then something goes, oh, get this. Well, I have an exclusive guide called It's Your Time to Love Yourself Unapologetically. And so you can get that for free. Just, you know, you need to provide an email and then the guide will be sent to you. And if you want to unsubscribe, just unsubscribe after you get the guide. So that's a freebie there, right there, that'll show. And then you can find out more about, you know, what I can do for you, what different ways that you could work with me or be supported by me. I just have completed a new class that a free masterclass called How to Love Yourself Fully and Live on Your Terms in Midlife Without Guilt. And I'd really encourage you all to take that class. So when you have an hour, and people say, I don't have an hour, I don't have an hour. Yes, you do. Queens have an hour. You have an hour for yourself. You know, Elizabeth had to learn how to give herself those 52 days way back when. We can give ourselves an hour. But go to cindydwhitmer.com/love yourself. And you'll have the opportunity to register for that and pick a time that works and just enjoy that hour. I hope it will give you some more juice from that is added to today's that you received. You'll learn some mistakes to avoid in midlife and what they're costing us. And my number one anti-aging secret and a 4-step framework to really turn your life around in the ways we've talked about today.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot, a lot going on there.
Freebies.
We'll make sure to put your website information in the comments once this gets posted.
Right.
And can they get a copy of the book? Do you want them to go to Amazon or can they go to your website? And do you have an autographed copy that you offer if they go to your
Oh,
is that a possibility?
If you want an autographed copy, just email me from my website. There, you can find that under the contact section, and then I'll get your address and I can sign one and mail it to you, and we can work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's always kind of a nice.
That is fun.
Nice thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just say here at the end, you said something at the very beginning that really caught my attention. And I get this question too. What is my purpose? I get this a lot. And we happen to have the same age group that we serve, pretty much the same age group. And I get this question too. And my answer is because I don't know what their purpose is because they're them, not me, but I do have an answer. And my answer is your purpose is to breathe consciously. Everything else comes from that.
I love that.
That's I'm breathing. I'm going to be still. Now I can listen, right? That piece. And I'm sure that that's a big, an important part of your helping people get on the track to knowing what their purpose is.
Yes, again, it's that what we hear when we breathe like that is our inner knowing, that deep inner knowing we talked about earlier too. And it always knows where to guide you. It's never wrong. You know, it is the truth. It's the biggest truth. And it will lead you to your joy, which to me is one of the biggest clues of what our purpose is too, is what brings us joy, what really just lights you up, you know, and gets you really energized in your life, you know, emotionally or physically or whatever. It's like how I feel about working with people in midlife. I just, you know, I wake up in the morning and go, okay, let's go, let's get this done, because I feel so driven. You know, there's such a mission I have to really bring more love into the world and help people live their lives fully, because this is what we need in the world, is people living fully in their lives, showing up, you know, as themselves. So yes, I'm glad you brought up purpose again, because at the end of the free masterclass, the hour-long masterclass, there is an opportunity to, you know, work with me deeper. Excellent. And the bonus of that is doing my Live Your Passion, Find Your Purpose coaching program, which is help you tap into your joy and what would really really bring great passion and purpose to your life, because research says that those that live in their top 5 passions or work within those, that expression of those, are the happiest, healthiest, most successful people on the planet.
Well, there you go.
So
There you
there
go. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for all of it. Thank you so much for just kind of being in the space
yes,
and
thank
bringing
you.
your own particular recipe of healing into the space. I know so many women could use some Cindy Whitner magic. Um, Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me today and sharing yourself with with listeners on this channel. And have a lovely. We'll talk to you soon.
It was an honor. Thank you so much for having me.